So Climate Group's Renovation Revolution project is really critical because there's so many emissions from the built environment and rates are just not moving as they should. So across the EU, 40% of energy use and 36% of emissions are coming from buildings. And so we need to renovate those buildings, and currently the rate is around 1% per year, which is nowhere near it needs to be in order to get to net zero. So the goal of this project is to bring together civil society, companies, owners of buildings, subnational governments to look at corporate, commercial and public buildings in order to see what we can do in terms of best practice, to up the rates, what can we do on financing, what can we do on skills. And really the goal is to see if we can get that rate up in order to bring emissions down at the pace that we need to. So Climate Group's Renovation Revolution project is looking at commercial and public buildings across Europe, and it's absolutely vital that we increase the rate at which we renovate those buildings. And that's because buildings account for so many emissions. It's around 40% of EU energy uses in buildings, around 36% of greenhouse gas emissions. And so those buildings need to be renovated in order to reduce those emissions. And we're currently only doing that at a rate of around 1% per year, which is nowhere near enough to hit the net zero by 2050 target. So the goal of this project is to bring together companies, civil society, financiers, subnational governments to look together about how working together can get that rate up. What's best practice? What are the things that we can do? At COP28 last year, we're delighted to hear this target of doubling energy efficiency by 2030. But the sort of work we need to do in order to get there is attack these really difficult problems like buildings. And that's why we've brought this project together. So this year at Climate Week NYC, we're really going to be talking about urgency and the things that we need to do now. It's about 15 months between Climate Week and the really big COP30 in Brazil, where all the countries need to come together and need to bring new NDCs, nationally determined contributions. And so it's a really, really critical moment for the climate. But those moments are never just one-off. There's lots of things that go into that. And what we want to do at Climate Week this year is start the conversations, really start to build that drumbeat into that COP and keep the world on track and even moving faster towards hitting the emissions reductions that we've committed to.